Hi everyone, we have here with us Geoffroy De Crécy. He's the director of Empty Places, which is selected for the international competition at Curtis. Geoffrey, welcome so much. Thank you for your time for this interview. I'd like to start to ask you if you can tell us a little bit what the movie is about and how the idea for the short uh, came about. What was the inspiration for this story?
Okay, so my film Empty Places is about it's about some machines, some robots of everyday life. It's quite experimental film in a way because it's just some mechanical loops, and we start really close to the machine, and then we discover what is surrounding them, and it's quite interesting in terms of speaking about the world as it is. The inspiration was at the beginning, it came from my incapacity as an animator to make some good human animation. I think CGI, the tool I use, is not very good for representing human figures. I don't like very much, CG films about humans. So I wanted to animate non-human things, and I choose to make these loops about some machines. This is a starting point. And then I tried to tell something about the humans without showing them.
Yes, that's one thing that I found very interesting in the film. In the beginning we don't. It's not very clear that there are no humans. We don't really understand it because you do this brilliant trick of zooming out with very gradually with each shot. So it's almost like a magic trick until we find out, oh, there's no humans. That's what's happening. So is it something that is appealing for you to play with the viewers' expectations? To play at what you show or you don't show?
Yeah, in fact, it came from the constraint of making a short movie out of some loops, because if you have a loop, there's no progression in the action. It's repeating always the same action, and there's no storytelling and no drama in the animation itself and in what's happening. So it's only the camera and the point of view that can tell something and make the things, make an evolution in the films. So I choose to play on that, and that's why. And I needed also, as there are many different places described that are not connected together, I needed to make something very simple in terms of camera on point of view evolution, something very basic from close to far, in order to put everything together without being too complicated and not losing the viewer.
Of course, the film was made at the beginning of the year, but it seems like a premonition of this situation that we are living with the pandemic and the lockdown. How do you look back at the film and you see this connection with reality? And is it a strange feeling, I guess?
Yes, it was a strange feeling because when we were finishing the films and just making the grading and stuff like that, so this lockdown situation started, and we had a lot of pictures in the newspaper of empty places, and it was really strongly connected. And I was thinking, everybody will think I'm making a kind of opportunistic short about this situation, but it's not the case. But in fact, if we come back to the past years, there are many events and occasions in which places became empty because of some terrorist attack in an airport, or some wildfire in Australia. There are many. It just make an echo to many different situations that can come to even old times. Like, to me, one of the scenes can make think about Chernobyl, and so I think this make echo to a lot more situation than just this lockdown that I could not see.
Yeah. It's true. We think of the lockdown because that was what was happening, or more recently. But it's right. It does play a lot of these apocalyptic almost ideas that we see in the world. Some things that happen, and it's very, like you say, echoes those feelings. The film plays with this little idea a little bit, of course, like how maybe the machines don't need us, how they can become autonomous and even replace us. Is this something that you think might happen in the future, and even in your field of animation, of working with?
Yeah, I think what I choose only some old-fashioned machine, like very basic and simple things you can find in your everyday life. But what is interesting is that you see that can work without us, and it's a kind of I think it's the first generation of machines that want to help us and maybe later replace us. And I think that what happened in the past decade with just climbing the stairs or things like that, it's at the moment it's been happening with much more sophisticated process, like complicated intellectual work is starting to be replaced, and I think it's quite frightening in a way. And so maybe my film with this message about the old machines can anticipate what could happen with much more essential and intelligent and sophisticated process that could really become automized and digitalized.
And in your field of animation, do you think there might be something like that?
I think so. I think now when you make illustrations, you have some color palette generator that can give you the colors for that are trendy at the moment. You have more and more assistants for drawing, like some character posing software, and you can. And I think it won't be very long before you can really describe the illustration you want, and you'll have a proposal of the AIA with different options of styles, and you choose. I think really it won't be long before it happens. That's sure.
Yeah, it's a strange world.
Yeah.
The other day, I read an article in The Guardian that was written by AI, artificial intelligence. So yeah, we don't know what's going to happen.
Of course.
Yeah.
I think we don't realize how much of our life is already organized. But when I'm on Gmail and it suggests me some answers that are perfect, for the different mail, I just have to say okay. So I think they could just answer to one another in Gmail, and you don't need to. No human needed, really. Yeah. And you can have some loops of mails and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Could be.
Yeah, exactly. I was thinking that the idea of loops and the machines talking to each other. Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about the choice of music, and did you had in mind before you started, or it was something that came up and you tried different songs, maybe?
No, I didn't have it in mind, but I knew I wanted probably a piano track, because piano is a machine. Mm-hmm. So I think it has this kind of mechanical touch that is interesting with the film. And this piece of music was really working well, and I decided quite early to use this one because it's quite a loop in a way. It's very repetitive, but in the same time with a very nostalgic and sentimental mood. So it was really the two things I wanted to have for the film. It was really working well. I did not hesitate a lot.
And as an animation director, I was wondering, and also as an illustrator, when you are working on a new project, do you first come up with the images and then try to imagine a story that fits the images, or do you start with the story and then you look for the images, or it depends?
Yes, it depends. On this one, which is very graphic and it's really based on motion and a kind of mesmerizing motion, and I starting from the image really because there's no real story in it. But the previous short I made quite a long time ago was more scenaristic, more with starting from the story. So it depends on the project. But as I make quite visual things, I usually start from pictures and the universe, and because I am also an illustrator, so I'm more on pictures than on writing.
Finally, can you tell us a little bit about some of your influences as an animation director?
As I told you, I don't like very much human representation in animation, so my influences are more on other fields. I really like photography, photographers from the 60s or 70s. some American photographers who could, just by representing a parking lot or a supermarket, give a strong sense of the moments they were living, you know, like William Eggleston or people like that. So I really like to watch photographers work, probably more than animation works.
And you mentioned the 60s and 70s, and the movie also has this retro feeling. Is that something that you would like to explore in future films, perhaps?
I think the retro style is linked to this idea of using only some old-fashioned machine and not talk about the next generation of machines. And also, I traveled to Japan last year, and this country is you have a lot of 80s and 70s buildings and things, and it quite inspired me for the look of the films. But I'm not really found to one special period.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome.
If you have any more prophetic visions, please let us know.
I hope not. I hope.
But we'll look forward to seeing some more works from you. Thank you so much, Geoffrey. Take care.
Thank you. Bye. Thanks.